And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature.
That's why shutting the government is really what the Democratic Party wants to do. And I follow country, then party. And it's the wrong thing for the country in a period of chaos. I refuse to vote to shut our government down. I absolutely would love to have... I would love to have a conversation about extending the tax credits for health care. Absolutely. But I would remind everybody, too, this was designed by the Democratic Party to expire at the end of the year. This is not something taken by the Republicans. They were designed to expire. Now, let's have a conversation.
And only one person in the Democratic Party has broken with the ranks. It's like, I don't understand it. It hasn't been working well for Democrats with Mamdani.
This is pretty simple. The government does not have to be shut down. It doesn't have to be shut down. We can
Senator,
fix this
here
in a matter of just a couple days. I mean, this could be easily solved by sitting down at the table.
To get past 60, you need some Democrats to reopen that's what's going to have to happen, Senator. You close the government down because you want $1.5 trillion for all these different things that Schumer wants. It's obvious to everyone, although, maybe you can convince the public that it's the Republicans, but it's not.
I think I'm going to be leaving the Democrat Party because this happens this happens too often, where they're blaming the opposite party when they know they can do the right thing. They need to do the right thing and reopen this government instead of keeping it shut down like they're hijacking the American people. I've seen it before. We've seen them vote the right way when they're in power. So why the hell can't they vote the right way when they're not in power? So get this government back open, get the American people what they deserve. And this is basically a Schumer shutdown from what I've seen, from what I've been watching on C-SPAN, what they show and what they show the Democrats whining and crying and blaming. That's what I see.
I know I've been talking about the government shutdown, but I think it's on a lot of people's mind because, as you saw from the intro, the Democrats are the one holding this up, right? And I've been very consistent on this argument because that's where the pressure needs to be at. And I'm starting to see signs that many Americans are starting to come around to my position that, yeah, it's the Democrats' fault mostly, right? Like I said on this channel, I admit my political bias. I am a conservative. I do believe, for the most part, that it's mostly Democrats' fault. But I'm not pretending that conservatives or Republicans are blameless in this, right? But in my argument, it's like, here's my argument, and then we'll lay out the case of criticism on both sides, right? Republicans are voting for the CR, clean CR. That means they're not putting any political agendas in the paper. Republicans say that, hey, they voted on this before. The Democrats just recently voted on it in March of 2025. Why now they don't want to vote for it? Why they're holding the government hostage just to they want to add $1 trillion in there, right? Because you're going to hear a bunch of arguments from all kinds of sides on this next clip, because I want to ask a question. Is public sentiment starting to shift when it's openly seeming like Democrats are the ones in the backseat? A lifelong Democrat from California just called into C-SPAN and left the host speechless. He torched party leaders for hijacking the American people by keeping the government shut down and announced he's leaving the party. I think I'm going to leave the Democratic Party. And this is why I'm talking about the self-centeredness of the Democratic Party to the borderline, about nearly being borderline narcissism. Imagine a party still thinking you're supposed to support them when they're withholding the 7 votes needed, and only John Fetterman is consistently voting for the CR. People always complain it's both sides, it's both sides, it's both sides. But when you both sides things, you're spreading the blame around. I believe it's an 80-20. 80% of the shutdown is the Democrats' fault. 20% of the shutdown is Republicans' fault. You blaming both sides, you're just you're not holding the side that needs the pressure to actually act right, and that's the Democratic Party in my estimation. But without further ado, I want to play Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. Smith's been getting a lot of criticism for his takes and his criticism of the Democratic Party. And I honestly believe if the Democrats actually listen to this guy and use him as almost like a filter system, just like, you know, we have Charlie Kirks of the world, Stephen A. Smith, remember Democrats, look. I'm only going to give this advice one time. Democrats been complaining about how they need their own Joe Rogan. Stephen A. Smith could be that for them. And look what they're doing to the man. They're slandering him, calling him all kinds of names. They're trying to cancel him. Oh my God. I never seen such dumb mistakes being done politically. If I was a party leader and there's someone who said they're aligned with me, because end of the day, Stephen A. Smith voted for Kamala Harris. He's the closest thing to you guys having a Joe Rogan and y'all throwing it away. Like the WNBA trying to hurt Caitlin Collins. You're throwing away Stephen A. Smith because he's criticizing your party. Joe Rogan criticizes President Trump, but he still had Trump on his platform. Missing a golden opportunity. Democrats are squandering it. You want to know? Here in this clip, right? Because people always say I'm biased, but at the end of the day, I make sure I give you information where you judge for yourself the information. I'm not really trying to tell you anything, but you judge the information. Let's check out this clip of Stephen A. Smith and John Fetterman making the most sense out of any Democrat or any person associated with a Democrat I've heard so far since the shutdown. Let's take a look.
We're listening to this kind of stuff while a young man walked up to the microphone and said that he had to leave here to go and work on DoorDash to help pay for his daughter's tuition. Meanwhile, everybody up here getting paid. But he ain't. This is this kind of stuff right here. That's how you know, and I'm not accusing any of you directly or personally of feeling this way. I'm just talking about the apparatus that is Washington, the nation's capital. This is why you have so many Americans, excuse my language, so pissed off at Washington, because somehow, some way, you get to have these conversations, engage in specific elements of it to talk about what we need to do to get things better. Our debt is $37.8 trillion. Somehow, some way, the taxpayer's been paying this, been throwing money, because we all look at our check, and it's been going to the government. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to be doing something constructive and productive enough to make sure that we don't have that kind of deficit. It isn't happening. A government shutdown is going on right now. A man has to work on DoorDash when he's really an air traffic controller that we applauded. And we're up here talking about how much some money is going to cost, and the only person that don't have a check coming is him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve. Give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that Pasek assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, you know, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was, in my state, was shot in the head. And if that would have, could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way with Kirk? We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that.
I have not seen anyone on the left get applause like that from like the level of applause that Stephen A. Smith got for that moment. I have not seen a Democrat get that kind of moment. Even when John Fetterman was making his points about, hey, we shouldn't be doing all that rhetoric and stuff, he didn't get an applause like that. But Democrats still sitting here thinking, because this is why they're throwing the blame around, right? And my point is, right, I acknowledge that, yes, everyone has justified reasons to blame Congress as a whole. But my argument is you can't just say it's the Congress. You can't just generalize the whole Congress. You have to fit the blame where it fits. Fit the blame where the pressure is needed, and it's needed on the Democratic side because the Democrats are the ones being unreasonable here, right? And I see this, both sizing it as a more neutral way to, get them to come together. But if one side is giving you 53, if one side is giving you 95% of the vote you need to pass and fund the government, what excuse the other side has to do? Oh, the other side wants more money added into the CR. Who's causing the conflict? Who's causing the conflict, Stephen A? But I'm not here to criticize Stephen A. That's not the point, because on that same kind of panel, he was criticizing Tom Homan and he got annihilated. But end of the day, my argument with this video, and I don't know what I wanted to call this video, but because it's just my thoughts. I wanted to say, hey, public sentiment is shifting away from the Democratic Party, but I want to make this kind of about Stephen A. Smith, because the level of disrespect this man getting, and I'm like, Exhibit A, why? Y'all don't have your own form of Joe Rogan. Because here's some commentary before I go into my real video, because I want to talk more about the disrespect that the left is doing to Stephen A. Smith and how they're shooting themselves politically in the foot. I want to play this clip about Stephen A. Smith's thoughts about who is the best possible Democrat that has the best chance of beating J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. And you'll be interested to hear what his answer is. Let's take a look.
Last tweet. Let's go with this right here, okay? Let's see what this is. At Nate City 11. Who has the best chance to defeat Vance and Rubio on a Democratic side in 2008? The answer would be no one. Not a damn soul. But I like Ossoff. I believe that's the correct pronunciation of his name. Also for Ossoff out of Georgia. I think that I like him. I like how he sounds. I do. But I got to be honest with you. If this Israel-Hamas deal comes out to be more positive than anything else, I don't think anybody's going to be able to compete with Marco Rubio, who Trump called maybe the greatest Secretary of State in American history. Marco Rubio gets things done. He's a former senator. He's now Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. He is no joke. I'd put him above Vice President Vance, I can tell you that much. Stephen A. signing off. Straight shoot.
That's who the left is trying to throw away. I generally think Stephen A. Smith is trying to help the Democratic Party because at his heart, he's a Democrat. But the Democrats don't want to hear what he's selling. Because Stephen A. Smith, if I were to put, if you're a Democrat watching this, I bet Stephen A. Smith represents more of how you want the Democratic Party to act than the Democrats themselves actually are acting. The Democratic Party is trying to be more left, while Stephen A. Smith is trying to tell the Democratic Party to become more center. And the left don't want to hear it. The Bakari Sellers of the world don't want to hear it. The black women, the black liberal women of the world don't want to hear him because he dared to criticize Jasmine Crockett. But you want to disrespect him? Like, this is the politically dumbest thing the Democrats can do so far, especially when they're lacking influence right now. Because at the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith is one of the most leftist people I listen to a degree. Sometimes I hear snippets of more radical people than Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen A. Smith's the only person from the left who is aligned with the left. I'll play it this way. A Kamala Harris supporter that I actually would take my time to listen to what he has to say. You don't think the left need that kind of power? But what are they doing? Throwing away because he criticized their party. Stupid people. And Bakari Sellers, I think it's jealousy that he plays in this stuff, because if any political strategist worth his salt will understand the kind of political value that Stephen A. Smith is bringing to the table for a sports analyst, known cachet, right? He doesn't outwardly look political. That's an advantage for you. But what you throwing it away because what he did? He criticized your darling ghetto Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett. And you call him Little D Energy. You let him get disrespected on your platform. I wish the left had their own. You had your own Joe Rogan, and you did the same thing to him that you're doing to Stephen A. Smith. Right? Let's get into the clip because this shows you. This is why I'm saying public sentiment. This is what always happens to Democrats. Public sentiment is shifting because the Democrats can't get out of their own way. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this clip real quick.
What Bakari Sellers needs to recognize is why don't you tell what the truth is? Why don't you speak about the level of resentment that you really, really have? That the American people are more willing to listen to somebody like me or the others that you mentioned rather than you, who's been doing this for years, out of South Carolina and then some. Nobody care what you have to say. I'm giving you pub right now by talking about you.
Woo!
Because this is the kind of individual.
Talk to him, Stephen A. Talk your ish. And that's what it is. It's jealousy. Even if you go back to the video of me, ranting against this perception the black liberal women like to push out, these woke people like to push out. That's what they're really threatened about. They're threatened that black men like me, like black men that are not overtly like, we're not default Democrats. I'll put it this way, right? Because I don't represent all the dissenting voices of black people against the Democratic Party. But I do know our shared interests. Democratic Party ain't it. That's one thing we all agree on. Stephen A. Smith agree with that. Independent black agree with that. Black conservatives agree with that. Democratic Party ain't got nothing to offer Americans. Right? And that's why I keep playing Fetterman. Fetterman is their path towards political survival, and they don't want to take it. Stephen A. Smith is their canary, and they don't want to listen. But instead, when they hear the canary, they're trying to shut it up. They're trying to tell it to tone down, right? If you want to know who's in power, know who you can't criticize. So Stephen A. Smith can't criticize black liberal woman Jasmine Crockett. He criticized how she carried herself, how she articulated herself, how she's ineffective as a congresswoman. And y'all saying he's bashing her when he's saying nothing but the truth. And you wonder why the American people are turning against the Democratic Party. Because y'all don't speak truth. And then when you got a gentleman like himself who has an audience where non-black people listen to him, because this is the problem with these black liberals. They're too niche. Their influence is too small. That's why they're so threatened by their one little grasp of influence that they have left with these black audiences. Because the day the black community is not voting 80, 90% Democrat is the day black liberals lose all influence they have in the Democratic Party. What I expose about the black liberal, and this is why they get mad at black conservatives, because black conservatives, our audience generally, is demographic, 65% white, little conservatives, the black conservatives here, black conservatives, Hispanics, Asians, right? We got a good mix. Black liberals only really appeal to black liberals or black people. That's it. That's the only people they appeal to. White liberals don't really listen to them like that. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know their audience numbers. I don't care, frankly, about the skin color, but I'm just using this to make my point. Is that they're threatened by black conservatives because they want to be the voice that influences black people. They want to be the representatives of black people because that's their path to influence in the Democratic Party, because that's usually their role. Jasmine Crockett's role, galvanize the black vote. Bakari Sellers' role, influence black votes. And if black conservatives or independents or left-leaning independents like Stephen A. Smith come in and cut into their market, Democrats are going to look at Bakari Sellers and be like, what we need you for? You're a specialist. You're here to convince black people and make sure they stay in line with the Democratic Party. And if you take the only last avenue of influence and position that the black liberal have, it's no wonder they're coming so hard against Stephen A. Smith and why he's criticizing Jasmine Crockett. But that's just me, you know me. You know me. I don't believe people when they do their little front. Oh, I just care about the issues of black America. Oh, really? What about this? Crime. Oh, you really care? Oh, what about illegals? Don't you know that threatens the black people's position? Oh, you don't care about that stuff? And the Malcolm X is the Bakari Sellers is what Malcolm X was talking about. If you vote Democrat, you're not only a chump, a political chump, but a traitor to your race. You voted for a party that's allowed 20 million illegals to come into this country. And we got another 4 years. Let's say Kamala Harris had won. You would have gotten another 4 years of 20 million illegals coming into this country, diluting the position of the Black America. This is what I'm talking about. I don't care about your intentions, Black liberals. I care about the results of your policies. And until you bring up policies that bring up better results, no one should be voting for you. Because from a nationalist perspective, because I'm a nationalist, I'm American first. From an American first perspective, you offer nothing. At least not compared to the Republican Party. But y'all don't want to hear it, though. You don't want to hear any kind of criticism. Because it's in my interest as an American to make Democrats a better party. Not to let Democrats stay like this. Because if I was a conservative first, oh, Democrats, don't change nothing. Yeah, get this cool, Stephen A. Yeah, don't listen to Stephen A. If I was a conservative first, I'll be saying that. I want to be telling you this. I want to be telling you ways of how you can better your party. I want to be telling you any of this. I want to show none of these clips. I would just hop in, play along, and say, yeah, look, Stephen A. Smith bashes, disrespectful, Bakari Sellers, and the liberal mob. I would have been playing those games. But I'm not playing those games. Because the reason I think I gravitate to Stephen A. Smith, because I believe he might, whether good intentions or not, I think we want the same thing. We want a better politics. And I think that's why I play him so much. But I digress. Let's finish up this video.
Yes, I could come at somebody like that who chooses to be disrespectful. You know my number. You could have reached me a long time ago. We could have had discussions a long time ago. The only time you ever reached out to anybody is when you wanted to sell your book. So it doesn't matter to me what you've accomplished. It doesn't matter to me how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter to me how knowledgeable you are, because nobody wants to listen to you, because your intent and your disposition and your default position is to attack personally people you don't even know. A charlatan? That implies I'm a fraud. How am I fraudulent? My work speaks for itself. I've been doing this for years. And SiriusXM wanting to come to me, I got news for you. CNN will want me before they want you, and you work there.
Yo. Bakari Sellers is a Democratic strategist, y'all. Yeah. And then they get mad at conservatives calling you guys DEI hires. I'm not a DEI hire. My skills will speak for itself one day. But Bakari Sellers, I'm starting to think he's a DEI hire, man. I'm starting to think he don't know what he's doing. You making mistakes like this, Bakari Sellers? You criticize a black man that voted for the same candidate you voted for, and you treating him with no level of respect. Because politics is about relationships at the end of the day. And the way they treat, like, if they treat someone who, like, imagine this, guys. Imagine you're middle America. Democrat strategist called Bakari Sellers and a former MSNBC host, Tiffany Cross, mocked and dragged this man through the mud. And he voted for the same candidate they voted for. What do you think they're going to do to you? Woo! If they treat their friends like this, imagine their enemies. And you see why I say Democrats can't win another election. I'm sorry. Not for a while, because these people need to go in timeout. These people need to reflect on a wall right now, because these people, they're looking for an inch. They're just looking for an inch to take a mile. But hey, let Stephen A. Smith cook.
Not to mention other networks. Don't hate on us because of what you ain't. Step up and be more than that by focusing on the issues. And if we don't know, teach us. That's all you got to do. Teach us. If you're right, we'll listen to you. And instead of me calling you out on the airways, what I do instead is sit on the air and say, hey, this makes perfect sense, man. Bakari Sellers is right. Just like I've said Van Jones is right. Just like I've said others are right. On the left and the right. You bought and paid for on one side. Don't even want to hear what the other has to say. But you talking about me. Sit your ass down.
Woo! If I'm happy, it's because Stephen A. Smith articulated perfectly how I feel when I hear a lot of these liberal analysts on CNN. Like Keith Boykins, right? He's a new one I just learned. I watch a little bit of his content, right? I don't like bought and paid for one side. Stephen A. Smith, Perfect. Exactly. And this is why they struggle with middle America. Because you can't say I'm bought and paid for. I'm doing this this is a passion project for me. I'm not getting paid to say anything. All right. I'm a Stephen A. I'm saying what I think I believe. I believe racism can't stop me. I believe racism isn't the biggest problem in Black America. And I argue that from the heart. I'm not getting paid by nobody to say this. And Stephen A. Smith is exactly as he said. Hey, instead of disrespecting me, calling me names, it's the same commentary I gave when I was defending Stephen A. Smith. It's the same commentary. I'm consistent. It's the same commentary. That's why I agree with it so much. That's why I was so excited. Because someone aligned with the left, someone who voted for Kamala Harris, is calling the Democrats out to be better. And this is why I think public sentiment is shifting against the Democratic Party. Because it's going to get to a point that, damn, even this person is criticizing the Democratic Party. They must really be bad right now. And this is the effect that they created. And one thing I'll point out about Stephen A. Smith is that he thinks too highly a lot about these Democratic strategists. A lot of these Democratic strategists, they only got their job because they pitched themselves as somehow being representative of Black folks. That's the only reason they got their job. Bakari Sellers couldn't educate you on nothing. Anytime he goes on CNN and he meets his equal, he meets his peers, he lose every single time. Every single clip I see of Bakari Sellers arguing some ish, he lose. But I digress. Keep making these mess ups, right? Because this is what I'm talking about. Black liberals are too emotional to actually get anything politically done. That's why you get called DEI hires. Because on the actual merits, on the actual outcomes, you provide nothing. Jasmine Crockett was supposed to galvanize the Black vote in Texas. She's losing the Black vote. Every year since Jasmine Crockett became the Congress district, whatever, Congresswoman for that district that she's running in, the percentage of Black votes has been declining for the Democratic Party in her district. In her district. Stephen A. Smith calls it out. Y'all get mad that he calls it out. Make it make sense. So you rather lose slowly, huh? Instead of someone calling you out and giving you an opportunity to be better than where you were before. The bigotry of low expectations. But you expect a Black man like me to vote for your party. Silliness. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I'd like to hear your thoughts and your perspective on this matter. Do you agree with my sentiments of defending Stephen A. Smith and the argument that the Democratic Party are shooting themselves in the foot by disrespecting Stephen A. Smith? Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. And do you also agree with me that public sentiment is shifting against the Democratic Party, or you think I'm wrong on this? I'd like to hear your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.